Look at that shiny brand new 2,000 subscribers. I feel like I'm in the mood to do a live stream show. Welcome to the Cinefanatics and the Tagline. My name is Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And this is the Tagline. We got a lot to talk about tonight. First of all, right off the bat, before we do anything else, big, huge thanks to every single person that has subscribed to us. We've got us to 2,000 subscribers. I'll be honest, I'm going to be extremely personal. This has been a terrible year for me. Like for me specifically, Chris, it's been a little rough for you too. I know. You're like, oh no, it's been jolly. I've been perfectly fine.
Yeah, everything's peachy.
Yeah, it's been a rough year for the two of us. And one of the goals that we had beginning this year was to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I'm not sitting here trying to do like lofty aspirations that we need to be like at 100,000 by the end of the year. No, 2,000 was ducky.
This is the get us back on track from the derailment that COVID caused for absolutely everybody.
Which I don't want to say that's an excuse. We probably could have done a few things a little bit better or more or so, but I'm happy the fact we hit 2,000. That gives me the ambition to continue this. So
it is and it is not an excuse. We're not hard on ourselves here. We understand where we're at and where we can be. And COVID did throw us off. So there you go.
Yeah. So that being said, we're about to go into 2024. New goal, I want to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2024.
Let's make it happen, Captain.
No, the next goal, our goal is we want to hit 5,000 by the end of 2024.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll see how these come in. We'll see how all the videos perform and whatnot, how many views we're getting. Because at the end of the day, it's the views that really matter. I appreciate everyone who subscribes, but I would love it if everyone is also viewing the videos because that's what YouTube wants. Therefore, that's what we want. So thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Please continue to watch all of our content as we continue through next year. That being said, I will announce that next Wednesday is going to be the final tagline of 2023 before we start taking our hiatus for like a couple of weeks or so. More details on that next week. But yeah, next week is the final tagline of 2023. It would be the final tagline of 2023 anyways, because there's no more days left in 2023. So that being said, now let's do the YouTube things. Y'all have any questions, comments, issues, complaints, whatnot? You know how it normally goes. Streamlabs.com/Cinefanatics. Please make our Christmas very merry. That would be a good way to do it. Also, patreon.com/Cinefanatics. If you feel we are worthy of your support and you have the means, please hop on the tier that's good for you. There's a $1 tier, $5 tier. $1 gets you our Discord, $5 gets you the watch along and the monthly movie trivia hangouts. Speaking of the watch along, next week after our final tagline of the year, we will be doing our watch along. Next week's watch along, I feel like this is coming full circle. This has been such a big part of this channel for so long that it only makes sense that we end tagline for 2023, or end tagline. We end Cinefanatics for 2023 watching Barbie.
So but before we do that, I got a new segment we should do real quick. New segment time, guys.
I literally go nowhere without them.
Y'all didn't expect to see the Barbie watch again, did you? Or the whole damn thing. I clicked the long one.
I was like, damn. So that like half of the tagline is going to be promoting the Barbie watch along.
I mean, I feel like we got it right. I feel like you gotta play the Barbie watch at least one more time for the watch along. Probably we'll play the shorter one next week. I don't know. We'll see.
Probably.
But there you go. Barbie watch along next week. It's available on the Max. That's what I'm calling it. The Max. So we all can gather around our Max subscriptions and huddle together and watch Barbie as one unit together to close out the year. I think that's a wonderful treat.
Yep. Anyways, so that is going to be next week. So a lot of fun there. Upcoming shows. So upcoming, I know tomorrow night we will be doing, we are going to go see Aquaman and whatever the subtitle is.
Wait, what is
Aquaman in the case of the missing Aqua Queen?
The Lost Kingdom? Is that it?
The lost Aqua Queen is what I want to call it.
No, I'm being for real. Is it actually the Lost Kingdom?
Something like that, yeah.
I cannot remember what the subtitle of Aquaman is.
We're going in with positive attitudes, y'all. Just
I'll be honest. I am actually looking forward to it. I do think, it's going to be entertaining. It'll be a fun movie.
In all seriousness, back when we did like the original reaction to the first Aquaman trailer, I know I was pretty hard on it because, and my opinion really hasn't changed over the years. I'm not a fan of the Aquaman character. I think just not one of my favorite. But the movie actually was good. They did a great job on the movie. They made me interested, at least in Jason Momoa's version of Aquaman. I had a fun time with the movie.
I think what it amounts to is that you just like Jason Momoa.
Maybe. Jason Momoa has some good charisma to him. Like almost everything I've seen him in, I really like him. I might not like the movie, but I like him. Like
Rizlord over here.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of burnt out on the Fast and the Furious franchise right now, but Jason Momoa's character in Fast X was great. And I really loved like the over-the-top flamboyant personality he brought to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm eager for that. And Jeremy Miller in the chat's also pointing out another thing I'm looking forward to. I like James Wan. James Wan has done some good work. So I am eager to see his next take on Aquaman. So
oh yeah.
It looks like it's going to be fun. In all honesty, it looks like it could be fun. It looks like it has a decent story to it. That being said, in reality, I know the world is probably not going to be accepting of this movie, so it is what it is. But we are going to go see that tomorrow, which means stay tuned tomorrow evening for our out of the theater reaction. So that should be up. And then we'll do the review. I believe, I know at least I am planning on doing another YouTube short where I'm going to rank all of the DC movies over this past year. So I will be ranking those. That should be interesting. I don't know who all's wanting that ranking, but I'm going to provide it anyways because I enjoy doing those. Like, I love it that people watch it, but I love making them. So, that is coming
Jason
up.
Momoa movies.
Yeah. And then I also believe we finally got time sometime, I believe probably like Friday, I think is what we're looking at, for hitting up that Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
So I am eager to watch that. It's so funny because, again, neither one of us are big like Godzilla fans, but the hype for this movie and everyone just praising it, I am so excited for it. Like, it might as well be a Marvel release. I'm like that level of excitement to see it.
Could be very interesting. A lot of stuff coming up, though.
Anyways, I think that's all we have for right now. I know January, we haven't figured out a date yet, but January we will be doing the next marquee, which is going to be our annual ranking of what movies are we anticipating for 2024. We're also going to review what we were anticipating for 2023 and exactly how they landed. That's going to be interesting.
Spoiler alert, if you guys remember when we did this during COVID, some movies that we were looking forward to that year ended up being movies that we were looking forward to the next year. It's going to happen again. Thank you, strikes.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is going to be fun. So yeah, make sure you subscribe, tune in for that, whenever that is. That's probably going to be in the later half of January, but yeah, a lot of fun. Anyways, coming up, let me see what else we got. Movies watched over this past week. So last week, we refrained from doing that challenge that we typically do, opening it up for everyone in the comments to challenge us to watch a movie over the past week, just because there's a lot of stuff we had to catch up on and watch anyways. I'm also refraining from that this week just because there's just so much going on right now.
Probably just going to refrain from it for the rest of the year, this weekend, next week's show.
Yeah. I will say I do very much enjoy that segment. I love the fact I love having people making myself accountable to people's suggestions to watch a movie. I absolutely love this, and it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. That being said, what we did instead was challenge one another to watch The Color Purple. Chris, I know you didn't get time. Stuff popped up over this past week. So I know you weren't able to fulfill that.
Yeah,
you're a terrible human being.
Yeah, sue me. I didn't do it.
I did watch The Color Purple. And let me tell you right off the bat, that's a movie that I feel like everyone's just like, you know what I'm in the mood to watch tonight? The Color Purple.
We're talking about the original one, by the way, not the new one that's coming out.
Yeah, well, we wanted to watch it because the new one is coming out. I am a fan of both of us are a fan of musicals, so we're going to be very interested to see this anyways, but we haven't seen the original. Well, I have seen the original over this past week, and it's a good movie. It is a really good movie, but man, that is a hard watch. Chris had things come up. It's okay. I'm making excuses for him, but yeah, it's.
You don't need to make excuses for me. I just didn't do it. Get off me.
Sure, if you want to say it that way too.
Get all the way up off my back.
Oh, let me just crawl up off that thing. Yeah, that was a weird way to word that one.
You just hop off of that thing. It's fine.
Yeah, why crawl? Anyways, so yeah, I watched Color Purple. Good movie. Highly recommend it. That might help if you haven't seen it and you might be interested in the musical. From my perspective, I would think that watching the original may help inform you for the musical, because I don't know what music is really going to do to help build up that movie. I know there was like a whole like Broadway musical that this musical movie is based off of. I just don't know like exactly what the tone and direction that's going to go, because it's a very heavy watch. So
yeah.
Otherwise, the only other movie that the two of us watched over this past week was last night we went and saw a preview screening for Rebel Moon. I will say before we get into it, if you want to see our out of the theater reaction, because we didn't film one, but we went to go see it with a friend of the channel, Sean Chandler, and he did post an out of the theater reaction with people who were there in attendance. So we are part of his out of the theater reaction. So go over to Sean Chandler Talks About, his YouTube channel, look up his one of his YouTube shorts. Our thoughts are a part of that group of people that were giving him out of the theater reaction. So go see that if you want to know what we were thinking immediately out of the theater. Otherwise, we are going to do our normal formal non-spoiler review right now during the tagline. This is going to be clipped out and made its own video, so we're going to treat this as if it's its own video. So we're about to get into that. Please hold with us. This might sound a little weird because we're doing a video within a video. So you ready to go, Chris?
It's meta.
It's meta. Anyways, yeah. So that being said, welcome to the Cinefanatics. My name is Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And we are here today from the tagline doing our review for Rebel Moon. This is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you're worried about any kind of spoilers for that, don't worry. We're taking care of that for you. That being said, I also want to precursor this because Zack Snyder is a very popular name amongst the internet right now. For the past, I don't know, like 5, 6, 7 years or so. He's been a big name of controversy on the internet. So I do want to say our point of view for this movie is going to be based specifically off of this movie. We are not doing this based off of any kind of preconceived notions of Zack Snyder and his auteur work. That being said, we are generally we are fans of Zack Snyder. We're going to review this and his movie as if it was any other director directing a movie. So no bias in any direction because of Zack Snyder. I do like his previous movies his Dawn of the Dead remake was really good. And I love Watchmen, even though I know like a lot of people are kind of split on that. Haven't seen 300 or Sucker Punch yet, but I do plan on seeing 300 pretty soon.
I for one actually do enjoy Man of Steel. I think Man of Steel was a pretty decent first outing for Superman in that specific DC universe. So as far as that's concerned, like, you know, Zack Snyder is capable of obviously delivering a good movie. But yeah, let's get into the actual Rebel Moon discussion of it all.
So this was a movie that Zack Snyder had pitched to Lucasfilm like years ago, probably I think it was like almost like 10 years ago. He was trying to pitch this as like another direction to go to step away from the Skywalker saga, that this was going to be a standalone movie. Roughly, I would assume it would have to do with like the rebels like being built up or whatever, kind of probably of almost the same kind of feeling as Rogue One is what I would compare it to. Mm-hmm. That being said, Lucasfilm did not pick it up. And so Zack Snyder decided that he wanted to still make this movie. So he made it its own like original sci-fi movie with like no connections to anything else, even though you can blatantly see that there's influence and connections to almost any sci-fi movie that was ever made. So,
yeah, that's the biggest thing. First of all, is the movie is the definition of derivative. A lot of people will look to like Avatar and say that the first Avatar movie is derivative of various stories like Ferngully, Pocahontas, Dances with Wolves, all that kind of stuff. But I would argue that this movie is even more derivative of various sci-fi adventures that have come before it. Some folks were saying that out of the theater, they were saying that they could see the connection to Star Wars. They could see how it was connected to Star Wars. And I'm saying the movie blatantly grabbed you by the throat and slammed Star Wars into your face over and over and over again. It was very much apparent that Zack Snyder was trying to do Star Wars in this movie. And my opinion, not well. Not well at all. I think the movie, my opinion is that people should stop trying to do Star Wars and let Star Wars be Star Wars, and you do your own thing. Try to do something different. Because this movie was trying way too hard to be an expansive universe like Star Wars is, or like other science fiction projects might be. And it's not hitting that level of success that those franchises have attained. It is very much a movie that's trying way too hard to be something that I don't think that they put enough real thought and time and effort into actually making.
Yeah, so I would say my issue with this movie is the overall story, I feel like, was just very convoluted. And that would make sense. It is hard to do a sci-fi movie where you need your audience to immediately accept this entire fantasy world that you've created. And you're trying to set the rules and the boundaries of this world and also get your audience to climb on board with that. And I don't think that Rebel Moon does a good job with that. For example, after we left the theater, the two of us were sitting there like, name any of the characters in the movie. Now, granted, while we may have been saying that as a joke, I actually could name like two characters. One, I guess I kind of knew Sofia Boutella's character before going into the movie, and was it Jamon Hunsu? His character, they say his name like 50 billion times in that movie,
and his is the only name that I could remember myself. Yeah.
So it's not possible to not remember his name. You'll know his name.
It's also a very simple name compared to literally everybody else's who has like a super sci-fi sounding name.
Yeah, wasn't he like General Titus or something?
General
like that?
Titus. It's just General Titus.
Yeah, so super easy to remember. I don't remember anyone else's name.
Yeah.
I just remember the face and who they are in regards to everyone else. But yeah, this movie was a lot of exposition because, again, you're setting up a new fictional world, but it wasn't set up in such a way that I feel like it could easily be dived into. Like the beginning of the movie, I feel like I was on board. I was able to keep track of what was going on. But then after it leaves like this main planet that we start off with, stuff just gets like thrown like all over the place. And this movie is supposed to be very similar to like Seven Samurai or Magnificent Seven, where we have someone that's basically going around and recruiting people to join their goal.
Is a great idea. I want to see the movie where that idea is fleshed out properly. It was not done properly in this movie.
And like even there's parts of like even Star Wars that I feel are very reminiscent of that. I mean, you look back at A New Hope, you've got this whole ordeal. Luke and Obi-Wan now have to go. They recruit Han and Chewie, and they go rescue Leia. They got C-3PO, R2-D2. They're forming their little group, and then they go and join the rebels proper. That's not what this is doing. This is basically like creating the rebels to begin with, almost kind of similar to what they were establishing in Rogue One. So,
it's essentially what is happening is, all right, well, we've got to go from here. All right, we got to go to this next world over here because there's this person who is known for this thing there. And they show up and that person has like some kind of brief action sequence introduction of some sort. And they go, cool, you're on the team. And we don't really dive into who that person is and why we're supposed to believe that what you said about them makes them important. It's very much a show up, someone's there's, oh, cool, woman has these fiery laser swords. She dispatches somebody right there, and then she's on the team. I still don't know anything about her or why she's important. I'm sure the movie tells us, but it does it in such what feels like a very convoluted way that its intentions are not clear throughout the entire thing. And I think that's really where this movie lets me down a lot, is in those moments where I want to spend more time getting to know who these characters are. But at the same time, your movie's already running about 2.5 hours long. And it's going that long without us actually being able to really dive into each individual character. Now, keep in mind, this is supposed to be a part 1. So this is supposed to be the introduction basically to all these characters. And then in part 2 is when we get into the thick of what's actually happening story-wise. It's just that we're getting too many names and not enough really caring about who these individuals are to those names. Like Djimon Hounsou, completely underutilized in this entire movie. He shows up and has like what feels like 5 scenes maybe at most, and a lot of them are just talking. They're not really doing much. So
that was the other thing, is action was kind of lackluster in this. They spend a lot of time building up exactly what's going on, the world around them, and not so much like it kind of feels like there's like an action scene like roughly in the middle of the movie, and I feel like it was super forced. Like it didn't need to necessarily be there, but they're like, man, we've been talking for like an hour straight. We need someone to shoot something. So like that I feel was very like ham-fisted into the movie. Like most of my issue is going to be just how much exposition, how much storytelling, and lack of character development. Now, given that, and this is something like on this channel I've said a lot of times, I have really bad ADHD. I need to be told and shown who these characters are. I need to be able to care about these characters and follow them on this journey for the entire story to be ultimately worth it. And I don't feel that. So, like, I know there's a lot of people that, like, this movie's right up their alley, whether they're a Zack Snyder fan or not. A lot of people I've seen like this movie and the story it told. Maybe that they're able to better grasp this giant world building sci-fi movie than I am. But for me, this just kind of missed the mark. Like, everywhere. I feel like the idea of being able to go and recruit people would have been much better if it was like a TV show where it's each episode. We've got Sofia Boutella's character Cora is going and recruiting people, and kind of like Mandalorian, how Mandalorian spends each episode, he goes and visits someone, and then he has to help out that someone with some kind of trouble that they're in their local area. Once that's resolved, then Mandalorian's got their help, got their support. He's got whatever it was he wanted from that person, and then he moves on to the next episode and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, like an 8-episode series on Netflix, where we're diving into each individual character as a part of an episode, and then at the end is like the big climactic fight that you have, or whatever you have for the end of the movie. You have it as the last, like, maybe 2-part episode, and then it leads directly into season 2 or whatever you want to do. I think you have much better success with this, because you would get to spend more time kind of emphasizing who each character is, why they're important, the world they came from, the experiences they've had. All of these things are necessary for each character, and the movie just did not give you enough time to dive into those things. If you get an episode of a TV show for each one, that would be absolutely perfect. And I would say that this franchise here that I believe Zack Snyder's trying to build would fare a lot better in that regard, and could easily be a new go-to thing to sign up for Netflix for, basically, rather than just a movie. You know, Netflix has Stranger Things, it has all these other, you know, big name tentpole shows. This could have shut up. This could have been one of those things that that you go to Netflix for if they built it up properly. But instead, for some reason, they decided to do it as a movie, and I don't think you have as much success that way. Overall, I would say, like, I want to bring out some positives here. I want to say the performances were good.
The style of the movie.
It's the style of the movie. It's the Zack Snyder style. So take it or leave it if you like that or not. I, for one, was not really enjoying it. And personally, this is going to sound really harsh, but I feel like the different shots in the movie that someone should say, well, that was a gorgeous shot. The cinematography on that was amazing. Just felt way overdone and try hard to me. There's a couple shots that you look at and you're like, wow, the framing of that shot, the way everything happens, it should be beautiful. But for me, I'm like, it just feels like you're trying way too hard to make something pretty rather than actually making something pretty.
And it looks like it definitely looks like, and I've been trying to read and see if I could find any kind of actual confirmation, but it looks like it was filmed on the volume, much like The Mandalorian. The thing is, like, The Mandalorian being filmed on the volume, it still looks good. This one definitely looked like, especially like there at the very beginning, like the very, very beginning, Cora is talking to, I don't know his name,
Exactly.
but like out in a cornfield or something. And you're looking at them standing there with the background, and it looks like they're standing in front of a backdrop. It looks like it's not actually there, and they're filming like on a giant green screen. So they may have filmed on a volume and just used like the lesser volume because it wasn't that overall impressive looking. There was a couple of like explosion shots that looked really good, but otherwise it is very heavy on the slow-mo, especially in the few action scenes there are, which is a Zack Snyder staple. Mm-hmm. And then there was also, trying to think the other part of it that I was thinking of. Oh, the lens flares. Like, for a second there, I was like, are we sure J.J. Abrams didn't direct it? No, J.J. Abrams has made good movies. So, yeah, like the lens flares are kind of insane in this movie as well.
And then, yeah, of course, as we were talking about, like the performances and everything as well, I feel like there's not a whole lot to go off of there. Everybody did what they could with the script that they were handed. And while I do believe that Sofia Boutella absolutely can lead a movie, I think, again, for what she was given here, she did a good enough job. I'd like to see more from her in a lead role somewhere down the line, but I don't think this movie is going to help her at all because of the movie that it is.
That's what I said. Like, there's no big names in this. Sofia Boutella, Djimon Hounsou. You got Anthony Hopkins as the narrator, and he also voices a droid that pops up like at the beginning and then disappears for the rest of the movie, and like pops up at the end. That's it.
And then you've got Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah, Charlie Hunnam. Yeah, from Sons of Anarchy. That's roughly about it for like big names. There's a couple other people, depending on if you've watched like TV shows. Michael Huisman from the Flight Attendant from HBO Max, and then you also had Fee from what was it Hawkeye
yeah.
as Echo's bodyguard assistant character.
And then of course you had Ray Fisher.
Fisher, yeah, that was one thing. I am happy to see Ray Fisher in a movie again. Granted,
I just wish it was a better movie
by Zack Snyder and not produced by Warner Brothers, so that would explain that. But
for his sake, I wish it was a better movie.
Yeah. So overall, I would say out of we rank this out of 10. I'm going to give this probably a 2. Like,
here's the thing. This might very well end up my least favorite movie of the entire year. I'm going to give it a nice, solid, hefty 1 out of 10. I did not enjoy it. From minute 15 on, I was done and counting the minutes for the movie to be over. Yeah. I hated it. I did not like it at all.
So that's going to be our review. Again, what did you think of it? Let us know down below in the comments. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. We are at the Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram. Also, you can follow me at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and youtube.com/RobertAdamsMLP.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP, where I'm sure a lot of Snyder fans are going to come show up and give me what for.
So that's going to do it for this review. Thank you for watching. We will see you on the next one. Y'all have a great evening, day, night, time, morning, whatever it is.
I need this movie to transfer into Moonfall, Rebel Moonfall.
Yeah.
Make it a better movie.
Yeah. Anyways. And that is it for the review of Rebel Moon. So thank y'all for sticking around. We will continue and proceed with the tagline from here.
I love that Jeremy posted this comment during that, because I was like, dang it. He said it in the chat before I wanted to say it in the review. Yes, it would
definitely. Yeah.
It would have absolutely been a whole lot better as a series or mini series or something.
Part 2 is already in production. Part 2, as far as I can tell, is already done. It is coming out in April. So,
I was commenting on this earlier. Good for Zack Snyder on that, because if it had not been a back-to-back shoot, Part 2 would not be happening. This movie is not going to do well.
Yeah, I can't see, like, in normal way movies are made and released, I can't see this necessitating
a much better movie. In fact, I need to challenge you to watch Moonfall.
Yeah. This would have, I feel like this would have gone the way of, what was it? Divergent, that they made like the first movie, they made the second movie, I think they made a third movie, and they were supposed to make a fourth movie, but nobody cared, and so they're like, we're not going to spend the money on it. And I haven't heard anyone over the internet going, man, I wish we got that fourth Divergent movie.
Is that what it was called? Is something Vergent?
Divergent, and then there was Insurgent.
Was Divergent the first one or the second one? I don't even know.
Divergent was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. The first movie, here's the thing. It had a good idea had it come out before almost any other young adult adaptation. If it had come out before Hunger Games, Maze Runner, like if it came out before all of those, it probably would have done great. But
the Rebel Moon, like it likewise, it has a good idea. Magnificent Seven in space, fantastic idea. I want to see that movie, but I want to see it done properly and not overblown and trying too hard to be something it's not.
Yeah. The other thing, and I wish I mentioned it in the review, is like I also saw The Creator, which is another movie that is a new sci-fi property that's world building, but it did it perfectly. Like I was able to completely understand and follow that entire movie. It made sense, but it was really only setting up like two ideas. You got the humans and you got these AI robots. That's all you need to understand to watch The Creator, is just that idea. Same with like Star Wars. If you look back at the original A New Hope, it easily was built up because we open with Princess Leia
cool.
in white, so therefore she must be good. Darth Vader's in black, so he must be bad. I mean, it's playing to the lowest common denominator, I would say, but it works because everyone understood and everyone was on board. And then we move over to Luke, and we're learning who Luke is. We get the droids. We get Obi-Wan. Like, it slowly builds all these characters, and it gives time for these characters to develop so we actually know who they are.
Yeah. Like I just said, it also gives you the crawl before the movie too.
Yeah.
To kind of drop you into the world already knowing what's going on. I will say, and I didn't say this in the review, I'll say this right here too.
You missed one too?
Yeah, well, I didn't need to say this in the review. It's that I didn't watch the trailer to this. I didn't see the trailer to Rebel Moon. We didn't do a reaction to it. I didn't see it before going to see the movie. I'm never doing that again. I will always watch a trailer now before going to a movie because I needed that context before going into this movie. I don't know if watching the trailer, I don't think watching the trailer would have helped me like it more, but at least it would have helped me kind of wrap my head around the universe that we're about to jump into a little bit easier.
So everyone stay tuned for our trailer reaction to Rebel Moon Part 2.
No.
We're going to do it, and you're going to be like, this still looks like crap.
I will actively say right now that unless there's a real reason for us to do it, I will not be watching Part 2. Movie, the Part 1 lost me immediately.
Like, there's a part at the end of Part 1 that does kind of lead you to wanting a Part 2, but I don't feel like it's necessary. I don't care.
Not for me. The hardest thing here too is this whole discussion, and I think Zack Snyder's kind of shooting himself in the foot right now. This whole discussion about him having a director's cut.
Oh yeah.
That discussion should. It literally feels like what people are saying, which is that it is to try to save face for the critics kind of just absolutely tearing Rebel Moon apart right now. But two, it really feels like, okay, well then why should I care about the movie you're releasing right now? If you've got a better version of this that I need to see, why should I go see the version that's coming out right now? Why do I care? Why should I care about this version? Especially if you're saying that the director's cut feels like a completely different movie in a completely different world. Like, what's even the point of watching this one then?
I think the major benefit to Rebel Moon right now is the fact that it's on Netflix, that you don't have to go to the theater to see it. So,
yeah, because of that, you've already lost me on Part 2. I don't care. I know we're running a movie YouTube channel on it for that reason. We might end up watching it at some point, but if it's not necessary, I'm probably going to just full on skip it. Like, I'm probably not going to watch Bird Box 2. I think they're making a sequel to that as well.
It's already been out.
Oh yeah, it's already been out.
It's been out for like the whole year.
I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah,
I like what I like. I don't like what I don't like.
That being said, hey, you know what else we should do?
Movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen,
good evening. This is what's happening in your world tonight.
We apologize for the interruption.
back to you.
This is actually a very good point that Lego just made. Why would anyone ever see his movies in the theater, wait 10 years and see his director's cut? The only reason we saw Rebel Moon in the theater is because it was an early release premiere thingy.
And we got in for free.
And I still want my money back.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like I should have been paid to watch that movie. Anyway, let's get off of Rebel Moon's back now.
I need you to get all the way off Zack Snyder's back. Oh, let me crawl off that thing.
I'll be very happy to. Can we talk about what the number one movie in the box office this week is?
Fuck, who knows at this point? Just.
Oh no, it's very
I'm
easy.
gonna guess it's Wonka.
And obviously, honestly, it's a movie that deserves to be number one in the box office. It's Wonka, and Wonka was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
I loved Wonka. It is sitting at a gross of $39 million for its opening weekend, which I think this movie is going to do a lot more numbers. Of course, going into this next weekend, it is facing Aquaman and The Color Purple as well. But I do think that Wonka will. I think Wonka is a good enough alternate movie for families to go see if they're not on board with, say, Aquaman, because who cares about the ending fledgling DC universe? And you might not have, the whole family going to see The Color Purple necessarily, because some of the theming of what the movie's about might be a little too much for some people.
hey, let's go watch The Color Purple, and then we'll follow it up with Leaving Las Vegas, Requiem for a Dream, or Schindler's List. Like, let's just knock all the fun movies out at once.
So, I mean, it's this Christmas weekend is going to be a big weekend for Warner Brothers in general. I know Aquaman and Wonka. Color Purple is who?
Color Purple. Damn it! I knew this, and I completely forgot.
I wish I could have the information right here in front of me. It's not Warner Brothers, right?
It is Warner Brothers that's doing it. Yes.
Oh, so this is going to be a huge weekend for Warner Brothers then.
Yeah, they've got like 3 movies all competing. So whatever.
That's
good
cool.
job, Zaslav.
Well, I get. So here's the thing. Though. Are they cannibalizing their own audience, or are they capitalizing on the entire box office for a weekend? So no matter what you see, you're making money.
That's true, because kind of like what you just said, if a family, after they're done opening presents on Christmas Day, if they're like, hey, let's go to a movie, they're going to go see Wonka.
Mm-hmm.
If you get like a group of friends, they're all going to go see Aquaman. And then you get your like auteur musical loving people, they're going to go see Color Purple. So
everybody else, yeah.
Yeah, granted, they are hitting like 3 major demographics there, but
yeah. So Warner Brothers, it's a Warner Brothers Christmas, it sounds like, which we'll talk about more about Warner Brothers later.
The Color Purple is being directed by Blitz Bazawule, who's also, I guess, a rapper known as Blitz the Ambassador.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Looks like he's directed a couple other movies. Was Black is King. He was one of the directors for that. The Burial of Kojo. I haven't heard of that one, but he was the director of that as well. So,
okay. Well, so that'll be. It's suffice to say, it's going to be a big Warner Brothers weekend for the holiday time. So you got number 1 is Wonka. Number 2 is The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Still hanging out with a current total domestically of about 145 million, a little over. Number 3 is The Boy and the Heron. Number 4, still hanging out in the top 5, is Godzilla -1. That's a good sign.
It's about to get a boost from the 2 of us.
Yeah, that's gonna send it straight back to number 1. Number 5 is Trolls Band Together. That's right, they did make another Trolls movie. Number 6 is Wish. Number 7, Napoleon. Number 8, Renaissance, a film by Beyonce. So Beyonce's movie still hanging out in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9 is Poor Things, which is interesting because it was at number 17 last week, bumped up to the top 10 this week. I think it's getting a little bit of award season hype kind of generating already for it. So, yeah. Then number 10 is The Shift. So nothing else really big. I will say other big movie to mention here is American Fiction, just released this week, and it released at the number 20 spot. So that one, I think also you're going to see some award season kind of talk generating around that one. That's probably going to, I would say that one's probably going to bump up into the top 10 next week as well.
There's like 5 movies that are all award season bait that are all in the theater right now. Like,
yeah.
Good Lord, y'all. I don't want to pull another like Barbenheimer and go see multiple movies in a day. Like Barbenheimer was fine. Fantastic Fest kind of burnt me out on that for a bit. So,
yeah, as Nerd says, it releases wider this weekend. So yeah, I imagine we'll see that one probably in the top 10 next weekend.
That being said, I am very anxious to see pretty much every like award baiting movie because they all sound and look good. So I'm eager for Poor Things, even though the subject matter seems okay.
Kind of out there. Yeah. That's a Yorgos Lanthimos for you.
I like Yorgos Lanthimos and I like Emma Stone. So I'm eager to see what the 2 of them will do with this.
Yeah.
So
anyway, what's your box office?
Yeah. Really, we only had planned to have like one major topic to talk about, but don't you know, you can always rely on Zaslav to give us another headline. Apparently, Warner Brothers looks like, and this seems to be all speculation right now. There's been no actual confirmation from what I'm able to see, but it looks like they are in the process of trying to figure out would it be a good idea to purchase Paramount. Which
we're going to give you our thoughts on this.
Yeah. Just in general, like, I don't know what's prompting this massive need for movie studios to buy other studios. Like, I get sort of Disney bought 20th Century Fox. That was a good purchase, in my opinion. I love the fact that, like, most of your 20th Century Fox mainstays are now under Disney, especially because that did also bring home a lot of Marvel properties that I have been eagerly wanting to see as a part of the MCU on the big screen properly done. But also it makes some things kind of weird, like some of the Lucasfilm, I guess, like Willow and Indiana Jones being under Disney now is kind of strange. This is going to essentially put Paramount and all of its properties under the same umbrella as what Warner Brothers owns. So we're going to have Star Trek in the same house as DC Comics.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things. So, I mean, you got your Transformers, you've got anything that Nickelodeon has would be in the same house as all of Cartoon Network and the Looney Tunes. Well, I say Looney Tunes, but we'll see how much the WB actually wants to use Looney Tunes.
I don't think they like their Looney Tunes anymore, which I feel like that's like Disney giving up Mickey Mouse. Oh, wait, that is actually happening. Sort of.
It's weird. Also, Nerd, for the purpose of this discussion, we're going to say tomato on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of a situation. My opinion, bad idea. There's only one world where I say it's a good idea, and it's not a strong enough world to justify the entire thing. And that is making it a heck of a lot easier for consumers and their streaming services, where I no longer have to worry about Max and Paramount Plus, and it's the same service basically. I think that would make it a lot easier for consumers. They're still paying probably about the same amount. You'd boost up the cost of the one service to equate for the two services, basically. But in this situation, having one service to kind of keep track of instead of two is a lot better than trying to cycle through a bunch of different streaming services to find what you want to watch that night.
Yeah.
That's the only world where I could get behind the idea of a merger between these two. Other than that, I don't think this is good for the industry at all. And the conversation around that is strictly about the pool of studios, the pool of major studios who run the show that you have to go to if you're trying to pitch meetings. If you're trying to pitch your movie or trying to get an original work out there into the sphere, instead of having 5 studios that you can go to, and maybe one of those studios, one of those 5 will accept you while the other 4 don't. Now you have 4 studios to work from. And if that 5th studio was going to be the one to accept you, now they're not. And you only have the 4 who don't accept you. So as far as like people going and trying to get their movies out there, this is not good. It's not good for original works and for folks trying to produce something new and get it picked up and get it purchased by a studio, which does ultimately hurt a lot of our creativity.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that might force like a lot more independent studios like A24 to be created and rise in popularity,
which would be great.
How long is it until we start considering, like, say, A24 to be on the same level as some of these other guys? Like, A24 is building up pretty quickly, pretty fast, and they're pretty massive with their library of content.
I think the big thing that separates them is look at Warner Brothers, look at Paramount, look at Universal, look at Disney, look at these names. How long have we known of these names? They've all been around for some of them 100 years, some of them maybe a little bit less. They've all been around for decades and decades. A24 has only been around for maybe 20 years at best, something like that. Someone can correct me if I'm off on the math, but I want to say I've only really heard of their name for like the past 20 years or so at most. So it might be a while before we as the general public feel the same way about A24 as we do about some of these more legacy studio brands.
That would be because they're all going to Max. So Anyways, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this. It limits creativity. That potentially could start leading to other like antitrust issues. Which I mean, I'll leave for the government to decide whether or not that actually is, because I don't have the insight, since for some weird reason I don't own a movie studio, so therefore I don't actually know about this business. Go figure.
Yeah.
I just run a YouTube channel that just recently hit 2,000 subscribers. Again, thank you to everyone who subscribed.
If we were talking about, like, if the news story right now was Disney was trying to merge or purchase WB, well, the government would shut that down immediately, because I don't think that can happen. I think Disney has too much property on its own, and if they got WB, that's a whole nother slew of property. I mean, you think about everything that Warner Brothers owns now being controlled by Disney. There's no way that would happen.
Mainly because of just the Marvel and DC of it all. That's a big one.
That's a big part, but also, again, you're talking about, the other brands that Warner Brothers owns. I think they own a lot of like the Hanna-Barbera and Looney Tunes and all that stuff. I mean, we're talking about all the different franchises that we're not even
your
mentioning here.
Your major kids programming for like the past 100 years all of a sudden are owned by one company.
And of course, you'd have Star Trek and Star Wars under the same house. Well, we're talking about Paramount. Never mind. Well, I mean, even still, I don't think Disney can acquire another major studio. I don't think Disney could make this deal, whether it's Warner Brothers or Paramount. Yeah.
Anyways, we'll see. Again, there's no actual confirmation that is exactly what's happening. It's just a matter of the CEOs have met and have shared a lunch together. So
they kumbaya'd over some salads. The other side of it too, that a lot of people brought up during the time of the Disney Fox merger, is how many people lose their jobs during mergers like that, which is a major focus too, and would be something that would happen again in this situation as well. Too much redundancy of positions between two different studios becoming one. You don't need to have 8 people doing these jobs when you only technically need 4 because you're one studio. So yeah, people would be losing their jobs if this were to go through too. So it's once again, I think the cons outweigh the pros. I don't think the pros are good enough here to justify the means of these two merging. I could be wrong. It could be something really like amazing that I'm not even thinking about, but I doubt it. I'm pretty sure this is just not good for the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
It also just kind of sounds like this is just Warner Brothers' way of trying to get out of filing bankruptcy. Which I have a better idea for you guys. Replace Zaslav.
That'd be a good idea.
That's not 100% a way to get out of bankruptcy, but I think it's a nice, solid first step.
Yeah. So that being said, let us move on to our main topic for tonight. That's right. Yeah, this is pretty much just 2 news topics and a Rebel Moon review. So main topic tonight, after not even a month of a court case, Jonathan Majors has been found. Let me see. I'm going to read this to make sure I'm getting this correct. Jonathan Majors was found guilty of 1 count of reckless assault in the 3rd degree and a charge of harassment as a violation. He was acquitted of another charge of assault and 1 of aggravated harassment. He does have a sentencing hearing set for February 6th. Because of this, almost immediately, it seems like it was probably within an hour, Marvel has dropped Jonathan Majors, which is we understood that that's probably what was going to happen. All of this was really relying on where this court case was going to go, and we were almost 100% certain that if he was found guilty of anything, immediately Marvel would cut him, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, you can tell that Marvel was waiting for an official statement by the courts, essentially, to make
because they hadn't said anything else.
because we live in a world where if you do the studio saying guilty until proven innocent, if they dropped him and then he walked out of the case actually innocent, or what have you. I mean, we're not going to dive into the actual logistics of his guilt versus innocence and all that stuff. We're not talking about. That's something other than talking about movies. But if they had made their call and he was actually innocent the entire time, then that looks bad for Marvel. It looks bad for Disney. It looks incredibly bad for them. But it made sense for them to kind of wait for the official statement to come out in the courts. And yeah, they had somebody. I think they knew the statement, the official ruling was going to be made that day, and they had somebody pretty much on the button ready to go with what their statement was.
So we talked about this specifically before, in that I think there was a lot of planning with Disney and Marvel. They're like, we need to get this season out. This season is going to be very heavy on relying on his Victor Timely character. We need to get this season out while people are still able to watch it before it makes us look bad, because that would suck.
I think that's why Loki season 2 wasn't delayed due to the strikes. I think that's why they just put it out, just get it out.
They had to put it out. Yeah,
doesn't matter if we don't have them promoting, just put it out.
Which is fine, because that Loki season 2 got lots of positive reviews. I don't think it necessarily needed like Tom Hiddleston to go out and promote it. We didn't need that. It sold itself very well, and good word of mouth is what continued to make that sell for Disney, for Marvel. Had they put it out like now, I don't know how well that would have done, because of course you would have gotten a lot of people like, I can't believe they're putting something out, because normal people probably generally don't understand the way movies and TV shows are made, that they're made like almost a year in advance post-production, and then they get released. So yeah, Disney had to put this out, otherwise it would have been probably a massive waste of money, not to mention also a massive waste of a really good storyline that they set up for Loki in season 2. So and how that would have affected the future of the MCU.
Regardless of the Jonathan Majors of it all, the show was still really good.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting headline for me, though, looking at this, saying Marvel has dropped Jonathan Majors. I was like, well, no duh. He's gonna be in prison for at least a year. From what it sounds like. I don't know if he gets off early or what the details of how the legal system and all that works. Neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Assuming that his sentence is going to be as they've stated, which is he's going to be in prison for a year. Marvel's got to keep the train moving. Even if they were completely fine for some reason, waiting for him to get out of prison for them to continue to use him and his character, playing the character of Kang. They got to keep moving. They don't have time to basically wait for him to do his entire sentence and then be ready to act again. Like that's not going to happen. So it comes down to a no duh. They're going to drop him. Now it's just a matter of, are you recasting him? Are we getting someone new playing Kang? Or are we just finding a way to ditch the character of Kang altogether?
Yeah, which puts Marvel in a very hard spot. And here's something that I've noticed, especially like since 2017 with the whole Me Too thing. This is something that I feel like kind of eats at me. This is gonna be a small soapbox. Is that if you are someone that wants to be in the public eye, you need to hold yourself to a higher standard like that. You need to understand that, yes, while you want people to treat you as a normal person instead of a celebrity, like I'm willing to bet Taylor Swift would probably love to do her own grocery shopping and not be bothered. She would probably absolutely adore that, but she can't do that. She's too popular in the public eye. This is the thing. If you choose to be a public face, a public figure, you need to watch what you do and how you do it and what you say and how you say it. That goes part and parcel with that career choice. You decide to do that. That's what you got to do. So like, I always see like these people on Twitter, like influencers or like celebrities that come out and they do like something really strange. They have a weird opinion that just pretty much kills their public image and that kills their career. And like, I don't know Jonathan Majors personally, but what I can derive from watching the movies and TV shows he's been in, he is someone who really enjoys what he was doing. I'll give him all the credit in the world. He has done a phenomenal job of playing these different versions of Kang that we have seen so far. Like just the wide scope from He Who Remains to Kang the Conqueror to Victor Timely. Those are 3 solidly different characters, and Jonathan Majors did a phenomenal job of that. And it sucks that because of his own, I'll call it sheer stupidity, because of his own stupidity in that, we are now deprived of what else he could have brought to the table, what else he could have given us. And yeah, that sucks. I hate that. And had he only thought and known, and like, I'm not going to bury the lead here, it might be hard. A lot of people may, like, Jonathan Majors has only been popular for like what, the past 5 years or so is when he really became popular. It really sucks that someone who was eager and really enjoyed this has to go and separate his normal life as he knew it to now he's got this celebrity life in the public eye. It's hard. Like, I'm not going to say that you are a complete idiot because you don't adapt that quick, but like, you have to understand, like, being in the public eye, this is what's required of you nowadays. You have to watch your back at all times. God, I feel like that's like threatening or something, but no, you have to be mindful of what you're doing and what you're saying and how you say it.
We live in a very heavy internet age, and people have access to cameras in their pockets at every given point.
Yeah, even the 2 of us starting a YouTube channel here.
Yeah,
like, I'm very mindful of like what I say and what I do. Almost probably like I'm probably causing more problems on myself because I'm very anal about what I do and how I say it.
There it is.
Except saying anal, apparently.
Yeah, he said anal.
But yeah, that's my little soapbox. I found it weird that people aren't able to grasp this concept. Hopefully, people start understanding and realizing that. But
it really kind of sucks that people with talent make the decisions that they do and throw away their entire careers sometimes. Talking about the actual situation of it, though. Like, we're gonna hop off the train of our opinions on the Jonathan Majors situation in and of itself, and talk about, because we're a movie YouTube channel, we want to talk about the movie side of things. What the hell is Marvel going to do with the character of Kang?
I mean, I put the answer in a tweet the day this all became public. My opinion, I would love it. And like, I know that there's contrary advice already out there, but I would love to see, in my opinion, John Boyega, I think, is probably the most suited to follow up in his footsteps. John Boyega's he's got a look very similar to Jonathan Majors. He's got the ability to play these diverse characters. I think he would be fantastic. Cast him and completely ignore the fact that he looks a little different.
There's 3
from here on out. John Boyega is Kang.
There's 3 actors out there that I've been seeing their names tossed around, and I love both of these. I love all 3 of these. It's John Boyega, it's John David Washington, or it's David Oyelowo. I like all 3 of those. All 3 of those names are names of fantastic actors who are really good, and can pull off the character of Kang the way that they were taking the character in the MCU. I do think, if I am not mistaken, I don't think it's going to be Boyega, and I will say that
already said on Twitter that he doesn't want to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think someone just point blank asked him, and he was like, "Nope, don't want to do it."
Smart, kind of. He had a bad experience with Star Wars, so joining another major franchise.
There's also a lot of talk and consideration. I think he is actually open to revisiting the character of Finn. And doing Star Wars again, especially with the whole Rey movie coming out later on down the road. I would love to see that, by the way. I would love to give his character a lot more of his due justice in the films. But yeah, I could see him, not worrying about doing a major franchise right this second. Any of those other 2 names too, though, are really good. John David Washington, David Oyelowo, both would be fantastic in the role. It would be interesting to see. I think the big kicker and the big thing you've got to do with Kang right now is, one, I actually, to counter a lot of your points that you've been making lately, I do think that they could actually drop Kang they could move away from Kang, and they could, especially because there's rumor right now that they're just turning it into Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2, and kind of working off of that like they did with Infinity War Part 1, Part 2 when those were first announced.
Which I can see them doing. That would make sense.
I think they're going to move into that realm. The kicker here, and what I'm actually very eagerly interested in seeing how they operate. I'm not sitting here relishing in the fact that Marvel has this big conundrum that they have to work out. I'm just actually interested in seeing how they divert and how they course correct at this point. I think it would be a fascinating study to see how a studio maneuvers around this and still keeps the story interesting and keeps the story engaging at the level Marvel has been doing.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest issue you have right now, and we've talked about this multiple times, it's that whole Council of Kangs post-credit sequence that they did at the end of Ant-Man. It's not even the room full of Kangs. It's the three major ones that they had. It was Ramatut, Immortus, and then the other one.
Essentially Iron Lad,
I guess.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious about is you're leaving those three kind of hanging out there. They were setting up that those three are going to be a major important role. So what I'm thinking is they would have to do what you were saying, which is you recast, and at the very least you have one more going with those characters kind of being defeated, so to speak, or whatever you want to do with them to kind of end their story. And you would have to cast as somebody else to do it. And their face would just be different. And there's no explanation. It's just Kang. That's just what Kang looks like. Deal with it. In universe, that's what he's always looked like. Deal with it. Or, whatever. Multiverse, reason, science, whatever you want to do. It's fine. Just accept it and get off our back about it.
So good point. I know like part of this, like that one shot of the Council of Kangs, the one shot of all the Kangs in that giant arena, there were Kangs who did look different. Like there was one that was all completely blue.
Yeah, he looked alien.
So there were Kangs that looked different, so to speak. So yeah, I think that might be the way to go. But I think you need to give it some time. Like let's step away from Kang for a moment, and let's let like at least these three Kangs, let's let them like get their claws basically into another movie or so. Let's let Ramatut build up in X-Men. Let's let Immortus have some kind of a part in a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Iron Lad could come back as a part of like this young Avengers group that they seem to be going in the direction of now. So like they can all just scatter amongst the other MCU properties, and we'll come back to them later when it could be recast. It would be far enough away from Jonathan Majors. They could recast it and general public would accept it.
Yeah,
that's what I would think.
I would say outside of that post-credit sequence, that one post-credit scene, literally, it is just that one post-credit scene. That's it. If that post-credit scene was somehow scrubbed from all of existence, you wouldn't have an issue. Because
so Doctor Strange, can you make the post-credit scene?
Because the way Kang was defeated in Ant-Man, that's enough for that Kang. That Kang was defeated, so to speak.
Timely's gone.
Victor Timely, the way they resolved that in Loki, is great for Victor Timely and He Who Remains, resolving those variants.
He Who Remains is not remaining.
Yeah, they could solve their Kang issue with just those if that stupid post-credits scene did not exist.
The problem now, and I've said this before, is because of that post-credit scene, what's going to happen is the general public is going to pull a Tiamat. Basically, the celestial Tiamat that's sticking out of the Indian Ocean from the end of Eternals. Everyone's been like, when are we going to talk about this? When are we going to get back to that? And first of all, they're probably talking about it within the MCU. Like if you were living in the MCU and you turned on like their version of CNN or so, someone's probably talking about Tiamat. We just don't care as the audience that we haven't know of the movie that we're watching.
We haven't gotten a show or a TV show where talking about Tiamat was relevant to what was happening in the storyline of that show or movie. So
yeah. So you're going to end up in that same circumstance that like generally people don't understand or get that, they're going to be like, well, what happened to that giant like arena of Kangs? We'll get to that at some point. That will come back.
What happened to that big arena of Kings? Hey, shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, so Lego says something here that I was saying. All they gotta do is erase it from Disney Plus, and boom, they're all good. I mean, unless anyone has like a physical copy release of Quantum Mania where it is already on the disc and you can't do anything about that, this would be my answer, which is, ooh, what post-credit scene? You didn't see anything.
So if you adore physical media, you need to quickly run over to Best Buy while they still have them and get it.
Right.
It's probably on sale for Christmas. Anyways, yeah, that's what I think. Like, I agree now that this has actually come to fruition. I feel like a whole lot of it was us just kind of like guessing what could be done. Now that he has officially been dropped by Marvel, I am of the idea recast, but we need to push that out a ways. I like recast it, but we don't need to be talking about Kang right now. Kang will come back later. He'll be a threat later, or at least those three different versions of Kang will come back.
Let them exist somewhere by themselves, scheming and planning or whatever, and let them. I mean, here's the thing. The thing at the end of the day too is that, you know, how many years do we have left on this particular saga, the multiverse saga? You've got till maybe the end of 2026 at this point, I think is supposed to be when the multiverse saga ends now.
I think they're ending it with Secret Wars, right?
Yeah, they're ending it with Secret Wars. So Kang is supposed to be a big part of the multiversal part of the... I mean, you're talking about He Who Remains is a big piece of the multiverse side. You're talking about the variants and all of that.
Just thought of something.
Cool. So how do you bring him in later on once the actual multiverse saga is done? I mean, we've got only a few more years left of this actual saga to go before the whole point of Kang is just kind of out the window anyway. So if we reserve Kang for too long, then there's just no point. You might as well just have ended his storyline right here and now. Otherwise, you have to do a whole nother saga past the multiverse saga, which we don't know the way Secret Wars plays out quite yet. And Kang has to somehow be somewhat important at some point during that saga as well. Mm-hmm. And that might be asking too much at this point for that particular character at this point in the MCU.
Well, again, Kang was a part of Secret Wars, but he wasn't a major focal character of Secret Wars. It really was like the Beyonder and Doctor Doom were the main.
But that's not even what I'm saying, though. What I'm saying is Kang is and was and should have been the main focal point of the multiverse saga, regardless of how much he did in at least Secret Wars. Obviously, he had a whole movie slated that he was going to be the major big bad of.
Yeah.
And now that might be scrubbed away for Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2. Is all of Kang just scrubbed away for the entirety of the multiverse saga? In which case, is that a good idea? Because again, you can't reserve Kang for past multiverse saga. It doesn't make sense. His character is not relevant at that point anymore.
You know what would be really funny is if it's a post-credit scene in Deadpool 3 where Deadpool's going and like jumping timelines again, and he just happens to like walk past like Kang. Like, we don't see Jonathan Majors, but you definitely see like maybe his costume in the foreground, and Deadpool just walks by and just boom, see ya. No one likes you anymore, and then walks off. Like he kills Kang, and that's it.
You're not necessary for the rest of this.
Yeah, some kind of joke that might be kind of sort of fourth wall breaking would be great.
Not going to happen.
No, it would be funny though.
Given the real world nature of why there's a whole issue with Kang, there's no shot there is a joke within Deadpool about Kang at all.
It'd be great. But yeah. Anyways, I think that pretty much does it for our thoughts and feelings about that. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, I think X-Men is the next saga. Yeah, I think after Multiverse, we're going to be diving into being very X-Men focused. I feel like they're probably going to scale back from the Avengers for the most part. We'll let the X-Men be like the main tentpole of the MCU going forward.
I could see them finally diving back down to street level, which in some ways it says it's weird to say that X-Men is street level, but in a lot of ways they are. I mean, the issue with X-Men is completely about accepting humans who are different than you.
What a good time to do that right now.
Yeah, and you can do that at a street level, which is exactly where you want Spider-Man to be. It's where you have Daredevil. It's where you have a lot of those like New York-based heroes and everything. And you could do a whole saga now that is more down to earth. It doesn't have to be dealing with a multiverse or aliens from space who want to remove half of life. But it does still lead into potentially the Apocalypse storyline done right, which is a major Earth-based threat. So,
yep, I would love to see that. So anyways, that is going to do it for the tagline tonight. So real quick, just recapping everything that's going on. Next week will be the final tagline of 2023 before we take our hiatus. After tagline next week, if you are at the $5 tier on our Patreon, come join us. We are watching Barbie. So way to end the year right there. The one of the major parts of the tagline for a year and a half, almost 2 years, roughly.
Give or take, yeah.
We're going to end the year with doing the watch along for it. So come join us for that. Upcoming shows, again, we're going to go see Aquaman tomorrow. So be on the lookout for our Out of the Theater reaction. We'll have a review. I will be doing a ranking of all the DCEU movies that have come out this year. So that will be coming up throughout this weekend. Otherwise, yeah, we've got most anticipated movies of 2024 for the marquee next month. We don't have a date yet, but that will be probably later half of the month. And yeah, that's going to do it for everything we've got coming up. So yeah, again, all of y'all who are watching live, we very much appreciate you being here. Thank you for being here. And once again, thank you to everyone who has subscribed that has gotten us to 2,000 subscribers. It means the world to the two of us. So thank you. Thank you for doing it.
Next week,
Torie. So yeah, that is all coming up. So yeah, if you are watching this on a replay, we very much appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch us. I understand that people are busy. You might not be able to watch us live, so we still appreciate the view. Anyways, let us know your thoughts, feelings, and opinions in the comments down below. Also, make sure you follow us on social media. We are at The Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. So make sure you come follow us on all of those places. Watch all of our content that we post up on there as well. You can follow me personally at Robert Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and also youtube.com/@RobertAdamsMLP.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP.
Anyways, that's going to do it for tonight. Again, thank y'all for watching. We will see y'all later. A good night.
See ya.